Today we have two iconic sitcoms, one that romanticizes its narrative, another that functions by exposing its flaws. Or maybe that's what both episodes do. Let's jump right into Community Virtual Systems Analysis. The dean tells the study group that they're getting a 3-hour lunch break. Pierce is like, 3 hours? I can watch the first half of 3 movies. Abed wants to hang out with Troy at the Dreamatorium, but Annie recommends that him and Britta go out to lunch. So Annie decides to take care of Abed, help him work through his playful issues in the Dreamatorium. When they acknowledge that people like Annie and Abed are a bit of control freaks, it really reminds me of the built-up resentment Annie had towards Asian Annie in the Model UN episode, which is actually one of my favorites to rewatch. And that's an example of an episode where Britta's activism you really sympathize with, you feel for her cause, and it works, it's funny. Because I would argue the thing that worked the least in seasons 4, 5, and 6 was how they handled Britta's character, in my opinion. Abed, Annie, Jeff's personalities all stayed on point by seasons 4, 5, and 6, but Britta's just got worse. Her activism got preachy and unappealing. It just got really annoying, like in the Bondage Beta Male episode, when she realizes that she might be a sellout and all of her old friends are sellouts. And I like how in that one, Abed and Mike from Breaking Bad explore each other's artistic potential and each other's weaknesses. The show fell into the same trap of, while being self-aware of Britta's downfalls, did nothing to improve them and fell short of the trope that they were making fun of. I love that it pushes Annie to tap into her competitive side, leads to the hilarious line, "You're a stupid poopy head, I wanna win!" Annie, stop, you're acting like a little schoolgirl and not in a hot way. And Jeff honestly reveals that he makes comments like that because he is intimidated by Annie, and Annie still appreciates this about Jeff because it's acknowledging the type of person she is. But yeah, Britta being so passionate about her cause in this episode was absolutely hilarious. There's this line in the season 4 Halloween episode, which is probably my favorite episode of that season. Pierce is in his panic room, tricking the gang. He's like, "The code is in my red notebook in my study. Or it might be in my room. I don't know where anything is anymore after I fired my maid. I guess there's no need for me to keep a safe anymore." I was like, is this a joke? I was like, is this supposed to be a punchline? I was really breaking my brain trying to wrap my mind around what this means. I thought it was supposed to be like some self-deprecating Norm Macdonald type one-liner at best. So I had to look it up. Turns out, yes, I didn't get it. This is a joke on Pierce, basically displaying the entitlement and paranoia in his personality that he has to hire maids to know where everything is, but still has a safe because he's paranoid that they might steal from him. With an idea like the Dreamatorium, there's so much room for imagination because it's based on Abed's observation of other people. And it's ironic that he says he can think up about 7,000 different potential scenarios, but looks like all of them end up in this self-defeating prophecy of him feeling like he's going to be shoved in a metaphorical locker because everyone's going to get tired of him. And then Annie has to tell him that no one's going to do that, and that all these made-up scenarios are just parallel timelines that don't exist. Just like the Model UN episode established an Earth 2, as well as how the Remedial Chaos Theory episode established multiple timelines, all from Abed's theoretical imagination, and they really lean into it. I like the Dean's half costume in this one, it's really funny. I also like his costume in the Sadie Hawkins dance one. I like how Abed tells Annie in the season 5 finale that Jeff and Britta seem to want to be spinning off into their own idea. But Abed's gonna make sure that the show is still about Annie and him. Meta moments like these do make me feel like the show does struggle with 20-minute syndrome at times because you want ideas like these to breathe more. For example, the Dreamatorium as a device has the potential to take you anywhere in a TV episode. And I love how all these ideas bounce back around to the season 4 Freaky Friday episode, which was really well done. They really committed to the body switching bit. Jeff, as usual, is really annoyed by this gimmick, but he praises Troy and Abed for committing to it because it's a way for them to work out how they're feeling. Because Troy and Britta's relationship stopped being fun and cute by this point. Sadly, the B-plot of that episode was pretty weak, where Annie and Shirley are competing for valedictorian. Feels like it got resolved too early, and it was nowhere near as good as the sort of buddy cop pairing that Annie and Shirley had in the season 1 prank episode. I also love the idea of a class that examines whether Nicolas Cage is a good or bad actor. After rewatching the movie Matchstick Man last summer, that's a really hard question. Like, sometimes he's deliberately bad on purpose, but bad acting is still bad acting. It's good a lot of the times. It's a hard question to answer. Alright, now let's talk about How I Met Your Mother Season 3's spoiler alert. In this one, Ted starts dating someone new and he sees absolutely nothing wrong with her, looking at everything through a perfect filter, but then his friends enlighten him and make him realize that she talks way too much. This completely breaks the illusion for Ted, and he makes Marshall realize that Lily chews way too loudly. Lily points out that Ted corrects people way too much. Robin uses the word literally too much, and Marshall makes random jingles out of things that he's doing. Kinda like when he gets dancers hip from dancing too much from Good News in the Possible episode. This episode reminded me of what I liked rewatching about other episodes like No Questions Asked, which shows that the characters will go through extreme lengths. It also highlights a recurring theme of how they handle the different set rules that each of the characters kind of follow, such as the 3-day rule, and how that can be subject to change. And I love the way the Mystery vs. History episode in Season 7 also highlights these extremes that the gang goes through, with being blindsided by their unhealthy attachments and quirks and meddling, as well as highlighting their mixed perceptions like in the Ashtray episode. Season 9 is quite the mixed bag. Sometimes I really enjoy the vibe it's going for over the years. Episodes like Bedtime Stories and Slapsgiving might be gimmicky but still makes you love these personalities. Even if the show can highlight some toxic masculine traits, and a lot of the show does feel like it has this underlying depression where characters do not make the most agreeable decisions. By Season 3, Ted's optimistic search to find the one leads him to meet the worst girl ever, Stella. That being said, you really buy into the idealism because of how much these characters can grab you in to their world. So which episode do I like better? There is a definitive winner for me here. Even though the Community episode does a great job highlighting Abed's understanding and personality depth, on multiple rewatches I can't help but feel the utilization of the Dreamatorium just to reenact their friends having lunch, their friends in the science room. Other sitcoms would have done this more humbly without this meta lens of pretending and switching voices. Other sitcoms would have just shown these scenes as is, and there's something way more humble about that. That's why I prefer the How I Met Your Mother episode. It builds on what makes the running gags so hilarious about these personalities. Both shows you really buy into their gimmicks, like I love the paintball season finale. But I honestly prefer the romantic optimism of the How I Met Your Mother episode. So spoiler alert wins this episode of TV Fights. See you guys in the next one.